First of all, one of the most complex networks and one of those organizations which has a history of more than 100 years. So very difficult to change, very difficult to move, very difficult to go forward in a new way, right? When Prime Minister gave the target that we should transform railways because there is no other way to transform the country than transform the railways. Railways affects practically each and every aspect of our life, whether it is cargo movement, whether it is people movement. In a country which is billion plus, there is no other way to move people other than having a very, very strong and resilient railway system. So how do you change railways? How do you transform railways? So first, Prime Minister Saab himself attended a Chintan Satra. That was in 2016 or 15, that time frame. Very long, 2.5, 3 days session. Lots and lots of ideas came. Then out of those ideas were culled some key points, and one of the focus was transform the passenger experience. Why I'm telling this story is, in the context of Atmanirbhar Bharat, in the context of our own technology stack, where do we stand and how did we reach there? It's very important to know because one story will lead to 1,000 more stories. Each success leads to 1,000 more successes. Each failure teaches us many, many things. So 2017, he gave the target that we should we should have world-class train. As it happens, when this kind of target comes, the first thing that people do is buy a ticket, go to Paris, go to Germany, go to France, go to US, go to Japan. Nice pictures, nice brochures, good websites, and come back, say, this is the world-class train, let's buy. So good presentations were made. We have listened to all those presentations. He's one of the most patient listeners. He is very intense listener. 2.5 hour presentation with all numbers, and you will find him absolutely attentive. So he listened, he saw all those presentations. Then he said, no, absolute no. When we want to have a world-class train and we have an engineering ecosystem, a design ecosystem, which is developing for the entire world, why can't our engineers develop a world-class train? He gave that as the challenge. Believe you me, 2 साल के अंदर, and designing a train is not an easy task. Imagine a power plant of 10 megawatt running at a speed of 100 kmph, right? That's a train. That's a train. A power plant of 10 megawatt running at a speed of 100 plus kilometers per hour with people sitting in it. That's the complexity of that vehicle. That's the complexity of that machine. Aerodynamics, wheel, rail interaction, the way it accelerates, the way the track vibrations are absorbed. All those things have to be considered. The way air conditioning has to be absolutely perfect, because when the entire train is full, entire coach is full, you require much more air conditioning compared to when it is empty. So all kinds of things are there. With those challenges, the engineers designed, and the first train, first Vande Bharat was the name given by PM, that rolled out in 2019. And initially, like every machine, all of us are conversant with the way designs happen. First 2 machines were rolled out. They ran for the first two trains have actually run for 18 lakh kilometers. 18 lakh kilometers. That is, if you calculate 2n pi r as the radius of the earth, 2 pi r, right? Perimeter of the earth. 45 times they have moved around the entire globe. And this is when no spare rake was available, no spare train was available. Generally what happens is, if you design 10, You'll put 9 in operation, one will be kept in spare for maintenance and overhauling and all kind of stuff. These two trains ran without any spare. They ran very successful. The world started noticing it. Many forces started working to make sure that the next lot of trains doesn't come. But Prime Minister's resolve was absolute resolve. And he said, whatever standard of design was there in the first Vande, now you have to make a better Vande compared to that. Like good boss, here's the one of the finest bosses in the corporate India, two of the finest bosses sitting here, and many of the finest bosses sitting here. They'll always tell their people that, okay, great, you did well, but you must do up to here. Did well, you must do up to here. Did well. Isn't that? EBITDA is not enough. More. NI is not enough. More. So that will be that's the case with our boss also. So he made us think once again totally out of the box. Think what did you miss in the first design? Think what are the other things that we can do better? Everything in terms of regeneration of energy, in terms of braking, in terms of vibrations. We sat back on the drawing board and we redesigned the entire thing. And the Vande which got rolled out in August, and the first one was inaugurated by Prime Minister on 30th of September. The train has perfected something which is the most difficult thing in a vehicle design. So how many of you are associated with the automobile industry? Right? Quite a few. If the road is bad, what will you do? Suspension has to be better. The chassis has to be better, right? The structural strength has to be better. It has to be more rigid. Maybe you have to think of a rigid body between the... So lots of things have to be designed, correct? The vibrations should not get transmitted up. Harmonics have to be controlled. So the equivalent of a chassis in a train is called bogie. In our common parlance, when we say bogie, generally we think that that's the coach is the bogie, no? Coach is not the bogie. Coach is the coach. There is a coach body above in which we all sit. And then there is below, there is a bogie. There are two bogies actually. Each of the bogie has the wheels inside it, the gear inside it, the brake inside it. Then the traction motor sits on it. Lots of other systems sit on it. All these systems, it's a very, very complex machine. A typical bogie would be like the size of this stage. Typical bogie would be the size of this stage. And it's a very, very complex machine. 18 very complex structural elements are there, which all of them interact with each other. And that's how so we redesigned the entire bogie. And in other advanced countries, where the margin of design is 3.5 millimeter, we took a challenge that no, the margin of design has to be less than 1 millimeter. So, very difficult task. People sometimes say that, yaar, ye kya hai? तीन बहुत अच्छा था. जर्मनी भी एक्सपोर्ट कर सकते थे, हम 3 करते तो. मैं कहा अगर 1 से कम करोगे तो जर्मनी पक्का एक्सपोर्ट करोगे. So the engineers, it was a difficult task. Believe you me, it was a very difficult task to design a bogie with that kind of margins and a very robust air spring, almost like a cushion on which the vehicle is resting. And this train, despite the condition of our tracks today, is able to give a riding quality which is significantly superior to any other train in the country. It is comparable to most of the international trains in the world. So the anecdotal thing is, if we put a glass of water on the train when it was getting tested, how many of you saw that video? Right? The train was tested at 180 kilometers per hour on a track between Delhi and Kota, and that glass of water did not even shake. That glass of water was lying on the driver's desk and that did not even shake. So imagine that's the quality of ride which is there. Prime Minister traveled almost 45 minutes by that train, and all the welders, electricians, all of them we had called to meet with the PM, and they wanted photograph obviously. So PM had to stand up again and again to get the photographs. 12, 13 times PM stood up and got the photographs done. Not a single time he had to take the support of the chair or of the cabin baggage area. That is the quality of this train. Sound quality, because the underlying structure is so good that vibrations don't come in, and vibrations means sound, right? So sound doesn't come in. So the sound quality inside the train is 1/100th of the sound inside an airplane. That's the quality. So I invite all of you to find some opportunity to travel by that train. It's an experience in itself, and do put a glass of water there, take its video, and put it on the Facebook or Insta or Twitter. You'll feel proud of the country's talent. You'll feel proud of the way Prime Minister showed complete trust in our talent, in our ability to deliver, in our ability to design something world class. And today, 18 countries have reported in their newspapers, and we didn't feed it. It's natural, organic. 18 countries have reported about this train in their newspapers. And hopefully, by the time we meet, maybe next year this time, we would have done about 75, 80 trains. And when those 80, 100 trains run for 2-3 years, the whole world's market will be India's market. That's the Atmanirbharta challenge which Prime Minister has given to the country. And that's the talent which has stood up to that challenge and met that challenge, achieved those goals in a very big way. So that was the first story. Friends, from railways, there are many more stories. We are about to complete the process for a world-class 9,000 horsepower locomotive. Process is complete. Another 12,000 horsepower locomotive, or most of our locomotives we have today are of 6,000 and 4,500 and 2,600 horsepower capacity. So this will be a step change in the way we manage railways. And last year railways did, normally we add 10, 20, 30 million ton every year. Last year we added 184 million tons. So that was like 6-7 times the average. So that's the challenge PM has given us. Transform railways in a totally fundamental way. And the team has stood up to that challenge. And I want you to give big round of applause for the railways team. Their sound should go to the Rail Bhavan. And whenever you find, thank you. Whenever you find an opportunity, whenever you go to a railway station, go and look at that person who is managing the train, who's managing the station, give a pat on his back. Say that, I know that you are doing Prime Minister's work. Say that thing, please. Great. So that was the first story. The second story is about telecom. Again, we know that telecom is such a strategic sector, and our engineers are the ones who are designing systems for practically every large company in the world. Every big manufacturer, every big software provider, every big technology provider has Indian engineers who are doing most of the work. So in 2020, when the Atmanirbhar Bharat package was announced, PM gave the challenge that why can't we have our own telecom technology stack? Only 5 countries in the world today have the end-to-end telecom technology stack. Once again, the same story happened. Lots of people tried to scuttle the work multiple ways. You want to do something good, and there will be 10,000 people who will say that nahi yaar, ye aise nahi ho sakta, isko aise kaato, isko aise karo, isko aise karo. That's the classic way. And it took great amount of perseverance, took great amount of determination, took really huge amount of trust in the capabilities of our people. This year, May 2022, when we tested our telecom technology stack, we tested it for 5 million simultaneous connections. There are countries which don't even have that kind of population. And now we are testing it for 10 million simultaneous calls. Compared to the other legacy systems from very large companies and very developed countries, this system is a step above because we didn't have the legacy system, right? So we didn't have to think of how to modify the legacy system and do something better. Instead of that, we simply took blank paper and a totally virtualized system is now getting rolled out, getting tested. We already have received inquiries from about 8 large telecom operators all over the world to take the Indian telecom stack to the world. So that's that kind of thought process which didn't exist 10 years back. In this country, there is a whole lot of people, a whole set of people who are always busy pulling down the development efforts. There's a large population of that. Very unfortunately, many of them were in this place where we are right now meeting. And for them, any effort to develop something, अरे यार हो ही नहीं सकता, क्या unnecessary करते हैं, अरे लाओ ना बाहर से. That kind of language was used again and again and again and again and again and again. Imagine what kind of effort and what kind of determination would PM it would have required to break that nexus. Imagine that. So when you think of a private startup, a small startup sending a satellite into the space, or absolutely digital banking, or a person, small street side vendor putting a QR code on the jacket, or you get your vaccination certificate in instant. When developed countries, they wait for 10 days to get the certificate in the mail, right? Then you imagine, then you pause for a second, you wait a second, start thinking how this change has happened. This change has happened because of the resolve of our leadership. This change was possible because a large number of naysayers were left behind, and the people who thought that yes, we can do, those were the people who were given the responsibility, those were the people in whom the trust was shown, those were the people in whom resources were placed, and that put our engine forward. That put our journey forward. Today, there are telecom equipment manufacturers who are thinking that a couple of years they would become exporters. I just had a meeting with 42 CEOs who are CEOs of telecom equipment manufacturers, and look at the resilience, look at the ebullience, look at the energy in them. Each one of them thought that in 2 years, 3 years, I would be exporting. They don't even think that India is enough. They think that no, for me the entire world is the oyster enough. That's the thinking which has come in. So be a part of this journey. This is a great journey. Contribute to it whichever possible way you can within your own means. Look at what you can do to have more and more deeper supply chains within the country. And I'll make you one last request. So I told you 2 stories as I promised, and one request I'm making. The 3 departments which Honorable Prime Minister has given the responsibility at this point of time, I'll request whatever change you want, whatever transformational ideas you have, whatever reform ideas you have, even if it is a small infinitesimal small delta in our engineering language, even if it is small delta change that you would like us to change, please come and share with us. Very open mind, we are taking all ideas. We are very, very eager to listen to you. All the changes which have happened, whether in telecom, Prime Minister was gracious enough and I mean, the risk that was there was huge, but he took that risk and did these reforms, which shows that this is a government which wants to change, wants to transform, wants to make a big difference in people's lives. So come out with your ideas, share your ideas in whichever forum, whichever way, whichever office, whichever way you can coordinate everything. Please do that. We are open to your ideas. We would love to listen to you and make the changes which are your aspirations, which are the aspirations of our next generations. This is the time to build the country. Thank you. Thank you very much.